Welcome back to another reaction. Today we're taking a look at our first ever request. Thank you, Enderholt, for bringing this up. I've mentioned before, I'm a big fan of Rustage, and I'm a big fan of what he does with the nerdcore scene and his anime raps. I was a big fan of his Leaders of History rap that we reacted to as our first video. But today we're going to take a look at his Alexander the Great rap. You may notice a few things. First off, I actually have a new mic set up. Before I was going directly through my USB camera, and while I was going through and doing some cleaning, I found an old mic that, as far as I can tell, has way better quality. I've only really done a singular test with it, and I'm hoping that we don't end up getting duplicate audio as we go through this video, because I am afraid that it might ultimately pick up the music. I'm unsure though. We'll see what happens. In the meantime, however, don't forget to send me any requests that you have for videos. I'm trying to find where I want to start with Kings and Generals. Someone had previously brought those up, and they seem super cool. I just haven't had the time to pick out a video. He's got quite the extensive library of content to pick from. But just to preface something here, Alexander the Great is one of the most prolific men to have ever lived, especially for the short length of time that he was alive. He stretched his empire to the boundaries, to the point of bursting. And so I'm probably not going to catch everything that we see here. There's just too much. There are people who focus on Alexander the Great for their entire scholarly career. But either way, let's go ahead and check it out. Oh, McGwire's on here as well, which he'll probably be doing the hook. I do really enjoy his hooks.
They keep in line, they bleed and die, they see me rise.
High society, another battle they can write in the diaries. It don't matter cause I like them describing me. Too great, any verse that I pen, bring file up my library. You a checkbox, not a rivalry. Damn.
Alright, so we're already seeing some really great bars, and really well put together here. Higher society is very clearly a reference to the Hellenistic culture that he spread out. Alexander is actually Macedonian, but he ends up ingratiating himself and focusing so heavily on Greek culture that he spreads this idea of the Hellenistic world, bringing Greek architecture and art as far as Afghanistan, what is today Afghanistan and Pakistan and northwestern India, back west into Egypt and, well, to be fair, Greece already had it, but everywhere in between receives this, and then he founds a number of cities named after himself, a primary one being Alexandria, Egypt. And in Alexandria, Egypt, they build a large-scale library that houses an insane number of texts. The destruction of that library lost so much knowledge and so much accrued pieces. Don't forget, this is well before the time that Gutenberg comes up with and creates the printing press, so we don't have recreations. We don't have easily re-put together or many copies of the same books or the same notes. And so that's a devastating loss. Also with the hook, I'm not sure, I'm probably stretching here, but the keep in line feels like a direct call out to the phalanx used heavily by Alexander's Greek armies. The use of the hoplites, the long spears, and cascading rows to make more or less an impenetrable wall. But
society. Another battle they can write in the diaries. It don't matter cause I like them describing me. Too great, any verse that I pen bring file up my library. You a checkbox, not a rivalry. Damn, better.
That is a hard bar. Oh my god.
Any verse that I pen bring file up my library. You a checkbox, not a rivalry.
You are a checkbox, not a rivalry, is a perfect descriptor for pretty much everybody that Alexander goes against. Alexander manages this many years long series of campaigns without any major losses that he commands. So he comes up against the heads of Persia, and he says, and they think that they're his big bad. They think that they're the ones that are going to really give Alexander a run for his money, and they get steamrolled. And that's kind of the idea of a lot of the leaders that he ends up going against, is they all see Alexander as this horrific onslaught, a leader who is conquering territory after territory. So he's their biggest opponent, he's their biggest rival, and then he ends up not really caring, ultimately. Oh goodness.
Better get lost if you're fighting me. Now the rest off if you're trying to leave plans filled with holes like the body of Darius B.
Is it Darius? I feel like it's Darius. Either way, though, Darius would be the head of Persia that he's going up against.
If you're fighting me, now the rest off if you're trying to leave.
If you're trying to bleed, plans filled with holes, Darius B. Oh my goodness. Yet, it very rarely actually impacted what he could do when he actually picked or went into battle. His enemies could have the best laid plans that they could possibly have with what they were using. He would find those gaps, those holes in the line, in the strategy, and manage to overtake them. For instance, when he invades Persia, he has a much smaller army than the Persians do. Most battles that he wins throughout this period, they're outnumbered. But it's the battlefield command and the elite training that his hoplites and his men have that's really going to carry the day throughout most of this. And that experience really comes into play in the solid leadership of Alexander and his generals like Ptolemy are going to be able to do.
Plans filled with holes like the body of Darius B. A-grade Aristotle with no top of the show cut like a knot.
Aristotle being the mentor, tutor to Alexander. I just saw it. We're very clearly getting a Gordian knot
reference. With holes like the
second.
body of Darius B. A-grade Aristotle with no top of the show cut like a knot in the road rock in the bow chop in the moth of the coast hammer. Big stepper like a loss is a road hammer.
Oh goodness, there's so much just packed into each piece. We're not even done with the first verse. But Colossus of Rhodes, of course, is one of the wonders of the ancient world. It actually is created, if memory serves, well after Alexander's death. But Conquest of Rhodes, he's saying that he's marching on and gaining as much territory as the Colossus of Rhodes would be able to do if it was able to move, which is just a massive statue. Those legs would carry it forever if it could walk. But going back, that's the Gordian knot, a theoretically impossible knot to untie, and Alexander uses it more like a thought puzzle, and he cuts it in half with his sword. There's a lot to do.
Knot in the road rock in the bow chop in the moth of the coast.
And that's another piece. Multiple times and I'm sure that there's a specific battle that he's referencing that I am missing, but it's not unique for him to see an enemy retreating, trying to get to some way to escape the path of his army, and then managing to cut that distance, get in front of them, and crush whatever force was trying to escape. So I'm assuming that that's something to do with that. I don't know the battle that would be referencing, but...
I'm a big stepper like a loss as a road. I'm a trendsetter as Napoleon or Caesar. Like, get better, I'm more popular than Jesus Christ. Whenever I be...
So a few big ones here. Napoleon and Caesar, of course, are revolutionary leaders. Napoleon changes the complete trajectory of Europe. Caesar changes the Roman Empire, the world's largest at that time. And Alexander completely changes the Middle East, Southwest Asia, Southeast Europe, and Northeastern Africa for centuries to come. Just completely upends the structure and the setup. So that is a perfect comparison. And that's another piece when it comes to Ask Them. Because Caesar and Napoleon were both students of Alexander. And Alexander is going to be the big inspiration for many, many, many leaders across Europe and across Southwest Asia and Northeastern Africa for centuries to come. Millennia, realistically. That is how great his expanses are.
Christ, whenever I be roaming up a Caesar's mind, world wonder, I'm a pyramid of Giza type.
Sees what he likes World Wonder, Pyramid of Giza, because he captures Egypt, he takes control of those pyramids. Awesome, I love it.
See my armies, they brace for the tide. Rise up to harm me, they can't cross the line too late. Move across the city and it turned to my estate. People fear the name. Oh me, oh my. Way too much on my plate, okay. They keep in line. Hold it too strong, don't break, okay. They bleed and die. Yeah, they know nobody could take my place.
So, not much historically here, but I love the way that McGwire is taking that first hook piece from the beginning of the song and basically expanding it. It feels very reminiscent, and it feels like a conscious choice to show how Alexander starts off with that small region of Macedon and Greece and expands it to this, basically for what was that at that time, their world, all the way to the Indus River Valley, the Nile. I love the way that he's expanding that, and it's so cool to see. I also love the artwork that's going on with this.
They see me alive. Ooh, guess I'm just too great.
They say too great, when the family there was a great food chain, was a Persian to a god.
Oh! That is so hard. What's a Persian god?
Too great, when the family there was a great food chain, was a Persian to a god.
Just... that is such a fantastic kind of breakdown of what people thought Alexander kind of was with his military acumen and ability to expand and conquer. Just the idea that he is this ethereal or almost celestial being. So what is the Persian Empire to someone with that much skill, that much ability?
Fake new age. I'll be painting them in bronze. When the family there was a great food chain, was a Persian to a god. Fake new age.
I'll be painting them in bronze. Yeah, because this is, of course, a Bronze Age conquest. Actually, it's after the Bronze Age. This comes later. This is the new Hellenistic Age. But before Alexander, way before Alexander, actually, I'm going to double check before I actually give you any of these details here. When did the Bronze Age end? 1200 BC. Yeah, that's going to be well before Alexander's time. So almost a century before. But he's kind of unifying this region for the first or the Persians have already done it, but for the first major time since the Bronze Age, this region is really being kind of brought back to the forefront. The Bronze Age collapse had been devastating to the Mediterranean world, but Alexander's conquests unite that Mediterranean world and bring it back to the fold with the Hellenistic age. And I'd be painting them in bronze makes perfect sense as well, because most of the weaponry at the time is still bronze, is still using those similar weapon tilings and processes.
Painting them in bronze, cause I thought it's moving iron and I'm taking what I want. Ay.
Phalanx, of course.
Ay. Son of Zeus, to speak up. See the vein in me, the Greeks got. Ay. Learning all your weak spots. I make love and war like Eros.
Eros. Is that the Greek god of love? Because Cupid is the Roman version. Eros. Okay. Yep. So Eros is the god of love. That makes sense. Alright. Sorry, I know that I'm cutting away quite a bit there. I just wanted to make sure that I was getting the right information with this. It's been a while since I've been kind of in my antiquity focus. None of the classes that I teach go that far back anymore, which I'm sad about. I'd love to teach a lot of these, but that means I'm a little bit rustier on this piece. And that's what I was talking about before, the phalanx, just that weight of spears and men pushing against a line was so destructive. It was so hard to counter.
And I'm taking what I want. Hey, son of Zeus, to speak.
And a number of individuals kind of saw him as a demigod at the time. That goes back to that previous line about what's a Persian to a god.
Come, see the vein in me, the Greeks got. Ay, learning all your weak spots. I make love and war like Eros. Ay, brandish the daggers and I be stacking mausoleums like his halicarnassus.
Another solid reference to the wonders of the ancient world. The mausoleum at Halicarnassus, of course, being on Asia Minor, a region that he conquers early on in his expansions. But that is the mausoleum. It is literally made... It's the first main one, and it's named after, that mausoleum is named after the family or the individual. I think it's after Mausolus. And then Halicarnassus is, of course, the city. But this is a very fun play on that.
They always telling me my business and my plans and my manners, and I've been making what I'm building on my tabula rasa, cause I'm a character actor and I've been playing every part in every land that I capture. They call me pharaoh and a king, I got the statues of valor. They're making money on my name like every man's a reactor, cause they can't do it like the great, they're just a fan of the rapper.
That was sick. There's so much in here. I don't remember what tabula rasa means. I'm gonna look that up really quick. Oh, in absence of preconceived ideas or predetermined goals, a clean slate. All right. I couldn't remember what that meant. That would be Latin. But
Cause I'm a character actor and I've been playing every part in every land that I capture. They call me pharaoh and a king, I got...
This is a very fun kind of realization that this is how a lot of conquerors really held on to power, is they didn't completely dismantle the structures that existed. They came in, they took over, and they named themselves king or pharaoh. When he takes Egypt, he doesn't remove everybody who's in charge in Egypt. He names himself Pharaoh, the head of Egypt. When he takes over Persia, he becomes the king of Persia. And when he does these things, what it creates is a level of continuity, consistency that prevents total breakdown. And that's another major reason why when he dies, his empire shatters so quickly, because his generals can basically take those same spots. King of Greece, Pharaoh of Egypt, King of Persia, and reinvent themselves as the leaders of these regions. And it goes back to the fact that Alexander had taken those titles and not destroyed them.
Statues and valor, they're making money on my name like every man's a reactor, cause they can't do it like the great, they're just a fan of the rapper.
They see my armies, they brace for the tide. Rise up to homie, they can't cross the line.
I do kind of dig the fact that they've got those arrows. When they say they try to harp me.
Rise up.
I'm assuming that this is a focused thought process behind what ends up killing Alexander. Now, there's plenty of conspiracies around it. There's the idea that maybe he was poisoned or that he died of his alcohol addiction. But one of the more prominent, one of the more likely is he ends up being struck by an arrow in Arabia. And he ends up, and basically the idea is he ends up dying of the infection from that wound. Which makes a lot of sense. Wounds like that could very easily become infected and can have lethal results. So there's plenty of different theories on what ends up killing Alexander, but that's, I feel, the most likely and the most reasonable.
Up to homie, they can't cross the line too late. Move across your city and it turned to my estate. People fear the name. Oh me, oh my. Way too much on my plate, okay. They can't get in line. Hold it too strong, won't break, okay.
I do also want to point out that the visuals have pretty much clarified and supported my original idea that the keep in line is referring to the hoplites of the phalanx position, keeping line and pushing against the rival forces, which I would like to say I'm happy that I actually picked that up on the first one. I thought that I was stretching when I said that.
Hold it too strong, won't break, okay. They bleed and die. Yeah, they know nobody could take my place. They see me rise. Ooh, get some days too crazy.
I'm greater.
Oh me, oh my.
When I say I'm not, but they act like haters.
They keep it alive.
Try to claim my spot, but ain't got no status.
Alexander was born in Pella, the capital of the Kingdom of Macedonia, on the 6th day of the ancient Greek month of Hecate. Probably corresponds to the 20th of July, 356 BC, although the exact date is uncertain. He was the son of erstwhile king of Macedon, Philip II. This is a pretty solid introduction to him. I like the fact that he threw that in there.
Yeah, but I pray to God I don't talk to traitors now. Take a shot, but just know I'm greater.
Alright, that was sick. That was so cool. I really dug that. But, yeah, so please throw in some ideas, some additional music that you'd like me to check out. That was a great song. I very much appreciate it. Thank you for bringing that to my attention, Enderholt. I had completely missed that when it originally came out, and I'm glad that I came back to it. We'll see you in the next video, and let me know what you think about the new mic, because I'm hoping that it's good, and I'm hoping that it's much better than the quality that I had before. Next time, maybe I'll look at the camera, but that's later on. Also, just as a heads up, I just got this. I've already recorded the entire Extra History series, so the next 4 episodes of that are going to be with the old mic, and therefore with a little bit worse audio quality. So just keep that in mind. Have a great day. Bye.